What is up, studs, and welcome to Ask MandR episode 367. On this episode, we'll be discussing if LEGO Star Wars should take a break, the next potential set with General Grievous, my biggest op at the LEGO company, and much more. Almost forgot to mention this Saturday, August 30th, I'm going to be at the Brick Show Shop South Florida grand opening, so if you're in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, it's in Coral Springs, I'm going to be there, swing on by. I'm just going to be hanging out, and it's a LEGO store grand opening, so can't beat that for a good Saturday morning. Let's get to it with our first comment from Porter Ortiz, who says, "Congrats on being featured in the new Red Letter Media, or as many of you may know him, Plinkett video, Ryan. It may be facetious, but it's another big way you're now connected to the Star Wars fandom. Haha, exclamation point." Dude, I was so excited to be in a Plinkett video. Now, to set the scene a little for y'all, what he is talking about is the latest Plinkett video, which I don't think there's been one in quite a while, and for Star Wars purposes, Plinkett has reviewed Star Wars videos, and Plinkett's like a character that a guy from Red Letter Media plays, but Plinkett makes reviews of Star Wars films that are very funny. Let's just put it that way.
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son.
I love them so much. I've watched them all probably 4 or 5 times. I share them with my friends anytime I think about them. Like, if you like Star Wars and you like comedy, you will like these videos. That's basically the intersection of things there. So if you haven't watched Plinkett Star Wars reviews, you should watch them. And so, having personally enjoyed the videos for so long, the smile on my face when I saw that I was in the video was insane. I was so happy to have been featured in that video, dude. My brother and I were here, we're going to react to this. Apparently, I have made it into a Plinkett video in a very small way. He said it was at the end, and it's a 52-minute video, so we're just going to kind of speed through. Oh, there I am! Oh my god! Yo, hold on. Oh no, this is me saying it's controversial, so yes, let's go. All right, here we go, ready? Yeah. The LEGO Star Wars Summer 2025 wave has quickly become one of, if not the most controversial in the entire theme's history. This is due to a couple of main
We've got a working transport.
I'm so happy. That's awesome, dude. I love that. I made it on YouTube trending in a Plinkett video. What more is there to achieve in life? It means so much to me. That's crazy. That's so cool. So that little clip should have given you a pretty good idea. I'm just talking for like 40 seconds about how bad LEGO Star Wars has become. Meanwhile, in my interpretation of it, he is overlaid a bunch of like actual Disney Star Wars employees that are talking and hyping up all of these new projects while I'm doing kind of the opposite. So I really liked that. I thought it was really cool to be in a Plinkett video. It's always a weird thing to me to be like featured in like far larger channels like a Plinkett or Red Letter Media, you know what I mean? But it's super cool, really made my day. So if you've never watched the Plinkett reviews of the Star Wars films, I would highly, highly recommend it. Even if you like the prequels, because he basically craps all over them, they are hilarious. It doesn't matter. It's just funny, funny stuff. Piling on to our 327th Target topic from last week, OTH Dog Dad says Target has 1,981 stores in the United States. 13,000 sets sold is only 6.5 per store. And yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot when you break it down like that. And I bet that is way under what they would have expected. I mean, you consider each store would probably get at least a case of 4, if not 2 cases of 4. That would be 8. And it really doesn't feel like a lot of sales when you do break it down like that. Only 6.5 battle packs per Target store. Like, you think of the end caps at the store where they put 24 Jango Fett Slave 1s, right? I keep seeing that at my Target, and I assume it's going to be the same at most, if not all, Targets nationwide. Like, they can only sell 6.5 battle packs. You think they're going to sell 2 or 3 dozen Jango Fett starships that they've got on the end cap? That's not happening. So when you put it in this perspective, sales feel abysmal, and you add on to that from True Lego X-Man, he says Target said, quote, 3K plus sold for the 327th battle pack the morning of release day at like 1 a.m., so I don't think they're being exactly truthful here. I don't actually think Target's lying when you think about it. I think that those 3,000 were sold prior to release day in store, and I think this basically confirms that the number that we see online for the number that Target has sold is going to include that in-store number. So I don't think they're lying, but yeah, 13,000 sold last week, and I checked again right before filming this video. It's only up to 14,000, so 1,000 more sets sold over the course of an entire week. That's only half a set per store for doing the math like that. That is not a lot of 327th battle packs. Sales are bad. That's a good thing for us fans here. Next, from Studwalker, he says, with the 2026 X-Wing rumored at $100, do you think LEGO may be having another go at updating the Rebel pilot helmet mold, but to make a version that people will like this time? They've often used updated mold or prints as rationale for price increases in the past, and I don't think this is going to be the case here, certainly not to the degree that we are seeing the price increase on the X-Wing. I mean, consider this, it's twice the price of the last standalone X-Wing that we had, and it's not like that was all that long ago. It came out in 2019. 2021, retired at the end of 2023, I believe. It is a lot more in line, though, with the pricing of the 2018 X-Wing that was $80 at the time. I'm going to assume, adjusted for inflation, it's around $90, $95, closer to $100 at this point, right? But I think it's pretty clear that a singular mold, especially one like a Rebel pilot helmet that would see use for years and years, really decades to come in sets almost every year, would not have such a massive cost. Like, it would make no sense for them to front load that cost into one set to me if they know they're going to use it forever. Like, the first time they used the new Stormtrooper helmet mold, right? Like, they don't just make that set really, really expensive, because that Stormtrooper helmet mold is going to see its return on investment over the course of decades. We have a really good idea of why it's actually $100, and it's not because there's a new mold, it's because of their smart brick that can light up, make sounds, vibrate, I think, maybe. So it's going to do things that no X-Wing has done before, and it should be quite interesting. I don't think it will be good enough for $100 at the end of the day. Like, I still think most people that buy a Lego X-Wing want a Lego X-Wing, not an X-Wing that does things like a Hasbro version of the toy that can light up and make sound. I mean, I could be completely off base here. I might be wrong. But for the price that Lego wants for something like this, I don't think the market is going to be there. But we'll see. As a side note, I wouldn't mind an updated Rebel pilot helmet. They can clearly do a very good one, like they did with the Rogue One version in the U-Wing Microfighter. Like, they can make a smaller Rebel pilot helmet with that mold in there that looks fantastic. But yeah, that 2018 one looked derpy, as do the Stormtrooper helmets a little bit, and as do modern Clone Trooper helmets. They should really reassess some of their helmet work as of late, right? Like they did with that 2018 Rebel pilot helmet so quickly, but refused to do with other things. Guy with a bunch of letters has a theory. Says the Mandalorian movie trailer has an ATRT in one of its scenes. Do you think that this could mean we get an ATRT instead of the rumored $10 speeder bike? And an ATRT very well could work with, I believe, a 58 piece count this set has, and the $10 price point. Like, at a minifig scale, an ATRT makes a lot of sense there. However, I don't think that's going to be the case, because all of the current rumors have nothing to do with the new movie. I believe the new movie sets are the 4 sets that we've had rumored. I believe at like a $45, $75, $130, and $150 price point, if I'm remembering correctly. And so those sets, I think, are going to be the movie sets. I think these are just sets from previous Mandalorian seasons. And to add a little bit more credibility to the idea that this is going to be a speeder bike, we also have the what's his name? Cobb Vanth speeder bike that's coming out for like $30 or $35. And so this set would pair perfectly with that set. And so I think for a couple of reasons here, it is going to be a speeder bike with the Mando and Grogu, not an ATRT with Mando and Grogu. But ATRT for $10 would be a cool set too. I just don't think it's going to be the case here. I actually think it'd be really cool for them to do an episode 3 Kashyyyk ATRT again, like in 2005, except way downscaled for that minifig scale people have been asking for. And also for the first time, including the actual ATRT driver, because we've yet to get that minifig. So that'd be pretty cool. I hope they don't waste that on the Mando movie here. I think it'd be cooler for Kashyyyk. Anyway, next from Lucas, he says, would you rather have the gingerbread TIE Fighter or the gingerbread AT-AT? And so these have been the rumors that have flip-flopped back and forth. Will it be a gingerbread TIE, gingerbread Vader's TIE, gingerbread AT-AT? And I think ultimately what I want here is a gingerbread TIE Fighter to go against the X-Wing. I suppose whether it's Darth Vader's TIE Fighter or a regular TIE Fighter is whatever to me, but just some sort of gingerbread TIE Fighter would pair far better with the Christmas X-Wing. Now, I think the most credible leakers out there have most recently said it's still going to be a gingerbread AT-AT, so I think that's what's going to happen, but I ultimately, like, I will still really like that set, don't get me wrong. I will love a gingerbread AT-AT. I think that's a really cool idea, but I think it would make more sense given the other holiday X-Wing that you would get a holiday TIE Fighter to go with that. And maybe that's something we can see in the future if it doesn't happen this year, obviously. But yeah, I thought that would make a little bit more sense. So that's what I would want. Next from Impasto We Trust, great name. He says, if we're getting Lego Star Wars bus, does that mean General Grievous could be in the cards? Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like the bus would not have the limitations that the helmet lineup did, because with the helmet lineup, the designers specifically said, and you've probably heard me say this before, that they only wanted to do helmet sets for the helmet lineup, except for the Dark Trooper, quote, because that one was cool, something like that. And so when it comes to a character bust, it obviously isn't going to be something that needs to have a helmet, because one of the rumored ones is Yoda, and he doesn't have a helmet. We also have Darth Maul, one of the prior busts from Star Wars, doesn't have a helmet. And so General Grievous could very well be one of the next Star Wars busts. And with that in mind, the busts for Marvel have included minifigs, so there's no good reason to think that the Star Wars ones would not also include minifigs. So a General Grievous minifig would be included with a General Grievous bust, and that would be the next set with a General Grievous minifig. Now, there's plenty of other sets they could make that that would include General Grievous as well, so can't rule out any of that stuff, but it is quite reasonable to expect that they would make something like General Grievous as a bust, given it was probably one of the higher demanded type of helmet sets, but they refused to make that type of set as a helmet set because it's not a helmet. I think we could end up seeing a General Grievous bust in the near future, probably 2027. I mean, 2026 is obviously not going to happen because we've got the 2 rumored for next year, and that's probably going to be it with Yoda and Darth Vader. Technically, if you follow Lego Star Wars' real pattern, it's usually the first 2 or 3 years of a new subline that is original trilogy only. We saw this with the dioramas, we saw this with the helmet sets, we saw this with the MIDI scale sets, and maybe another thing, I can't remember now. But at least within the last decade, they'll start a new subline, and it'll be like original trilogy year 1, original trilogy year 2, original trilogy year 3, and then in that 3rd or 4th year, they'll actually branch out. So General Grievous obviously isn't going to happen next year given the rumors, but he could happen really any year thereafter. Just historically, they typically give it a few years before they'll dip into the prequels, which sucks. I don't think it'll happen this time. I think we'll get prequel stuff in the second wave of busts, but that's just an opinion. Let me know in the comments, but I would love to make this next bit a weekly thing on Ask MandR. So I have the hot take of the week from Brittany, who says, if you can't afford Lego, then get a better paying job or find a cheaper hobby, plain and simple. Now, this is obviously ignoring the idea that Lego has increased prices like crazy over the past few years, and you can compare things pretty apples to apples and see examples where prices have like doubled or close to it, right? Like battle packs being $45. Like, it's not about affording it or not. Like, most people can afford a $45 set, but the idea that a battle pack is $45 is absurd. Now, while what this guy says is like super abrasive and it's very like confrontational almost in a way, it could make a lot of sense. Like, if you double your income, the battle pack price effectively just got halved. Like, that is kind of how I see that working if you want to go through this person's reasoning. Or if you can get to like $10 million a year or whatever, super ultra mega rich, then who cares what Lego costs, because $10 million is nothing to your $45 battle pack. That's obviously not going to be realistic for almost anybody here, but I actually have had a thought somewhat similar to this in the past, and it comes to the idea of like looking for deals with Lego and the amount of time you may spend on it. So while this guy's idea works, it's not quite that simple. Like, you can't just tomorrow find a job that's going to pay you twice as much, which makes battle packs feel like they cost half as much, right? Like, it doesn't quite work that simply. But I have in the past, and I really still am a big proponent of the idea that, like, why would you spend, let's say, 10 hours searching websites to try to get $50 off on a set? Let's use Palpatine's Arrest, because we're going to talk about that one later in the video. Let's say its current market value is $500. You want to get a good deal. You want to get it for $400. And let's say over the course of the next 2 years, you spend countless hours, 10 hours in fact, searching through Facebook Marketplace, searching through eBay, searching through whatnot, trying to find this Palpatine's Arrest for $400 instead of $500. Well, when it's all said and done, you count up the 10 hours of your time and you look back and you're like, well, if I had literally worked, I mean, what does McDonald's even pay $15 an hour a lot of times these days? Like, back when I worked minimum wage, I got like $7.65 or $8.25 an hour. It was really bad. But I think most places advertise a lot more now, which is nice. But if you're at $15 an hour for 10 hours, that's $150 for that 10 hours of your time that you used to save $100. So you would have come out net $50 better if you had just gone and worked for 10 hours at like a very low rate. I can see the rationale and how that has spread from something like that to the idea of just like, if you can make twice as much money, now this set costs half as much. I don't know, very hot take from Brittany, but also like, if it was that simple, it would be really nice, right? Just double your income. Why not? It's that easy. Pingu says, how long until we're talking about a $1,500 Lego Star Wars set? And I actually think it's going to be quite a while. I think Lego has reached a limitation as far as how much stuff they can put in a box, how big of a box they can make, how heavy it's going to be. Like, can you carry this box from the store to your car? Can you actually fit the box in the doorway to your house? Can you fit the finished build through a door in your house? I mean, some of the Imperial Star Destroyers UCS sets kind of almost run into that problem with their width. You can't make that set bigger. That is at its physical limitation for size, and also like fitting something on a shelf, like that new Death Star, like it can't really get much bigger than that, right? They're not gonna, the market kind of shrinks at a point. And Lego also has kind of a value attributed to it. We use 10 cents per piece. I mean, I know that I harp on that as a bad way to measure the value, but it's a simple way here. So like today, Lego attributes 10 cents per piece to its Death Star. If tomorrow they're like, hey, everything's 20 cents per piece, well, now we have a $2,000 Death Star, and that would happen very quickly. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think we are going to continue to see prices rise somewhat slowly over time, with periods where they go up a little bit more than others. But the point is, if you look historically, back to 2007, that was our first $500 set, and here we are 17 years later getting our first $1,000 Lego set. So to go up $500, it took us 17 years, which is a lot longer than you would probably imagine, given how expensive and how crazy Legos increased prices in recent years. Like, you would think it's happened rather rapidly. It's been a long process to get to this point, it feels like. I did the research on this a while back. I don't think we saw another $500 set for 9 years or something. So it was quite a while before we saw them return to like a huge price point like that. Now, Lego's very different now. They could do another $1,000 set next year from another theme, or like an Icons thing. You know, there could be outliers, right? But I'm kind of going off the history here, and I really just don't think it's going to happen very rapidly. It will eventually happen due to inflation at some point. We'll be getting $1,500 Lego sets, and it'll be normal. $1,000 Lego sets will become normal, much like $500 sets have become normal. But it won't happen anytime soon. Suphad501 says, what is your opinion on price per gram, and do you think it's better than price per piece? Honestly, I think it's way more accurate, and by the way, love your videos. Keep up the good work. Been a fan since 2017. Hey, thanks, man. Now, I absolutely agree that price per gram is a much better measure of value for a Lego set than price per piece. It still, much like price per piece, can't take into account different molds and the minifigures, and whether they have dual molded legs, or side leg printing, or arm printing, and all of those other little factors that matter, or how desirable a character is and what value that plays into somebody's mind. You know, there are other variables there, and I think that's the issue with either of these. Like, ultimately, to me, at the end of the day, how I value Lego sets is basically the eye test. Do I think it's worth it? Yes or no? And that's how I really think everybody should do it. Like, the eye test is really all you need. Like, does the new Tiny Tank look like it's worth $160? No. Okay, well, it doesn't matter what its price per piece or price per gram is. I don't care what it is. It's a horrible value for $160, and it's got low quality figures. Like, what more do you want to know? Now, that being said, the other issue with price per gram and why it's not widely used and widely accepted like price per piece is because it's not this easily accessible thing. You can't walk into the store and see the weight of the set on the box. You see the piece count. You don't go online usually, and it actually can be online. If you look in the like specifications box on some of the websites, they'll have the weight of the item. And so you could actually figure it out. But also in a lot of cases, like if I'm reviewing a set, like I'm not whipping out the scale to weigh the set. Like I've said, I don't care about price per piece as a metric for value. I guess I would care a little bit more on the price per gram, but ultimately at the end of the day, I'm a big advocate of the eye test. Like, does it look like it's worth the money? Yes or no? Does it fall in line with what previous Lego sets have been pricing wise? Yes or no? And that usually gets me most of the way there. I've definitely weighed a few Lego sets in my day, but yeah, I highly recommend the eye test. I think that's going to get us the furthest in life. Kyle Christian says, what is the most you've paid over retail to receive a set early? Also, which set was it? Yeah, it's the new Death Star. I've actually paid $5,000 for it, and it's on the way. I think it should be here tomorrow. I'm so excited. I'm kidding. All of Land just had a heart attack, though. You know that.
You almost gave me a heart attack.
Would I pay $5,000 to get the Death Star early? I don't know. If you have one, maybe send me a message and find out. But jokes aside, the most I believe I have paid for a new set early is about $1,050 for the new Jango Fett Slave 1. I think that's what I paid for it, shipping, everything all in, because I offered double the retail price of the set, and then shipping from, I think this one came from Hong Kong, was not cheap for next day shipping, or close to next day shipping, whatever the fastest option I could get. So it adds up a lot. So I think dollar wise, I paid $750 or so over retail for that one. Percentage wise, I probably paid more for something smaller, like the $70 Jango Fett Slave one. I think I ended up paying $300 for, or maybe a little bit more, because the shipping was just crazy expensive on it. Plus I paid double retail. Like the double retail going from 70 to 140 ain't that bad. It's the $200 more of next day shipping that just kills it. So yeah, always appreciate the support on the reviews, because if you guys don't watch them, it becomes very uneconomical very quickly. But yes, I've definitely spent some pretty pennies to get some new Lego sets early. And the Death Star has the potential to be the one that I would spend the most on, because it's inherently the most expensive. We'll see. I don't know if that opportunity will present itself or not. It's always a crapshoot. Next, from Jesus or Jesus Reigns, he says, what are some minifigures from the current Lego Star Wars design era that you think are absolute peak, as in you'd be happy for Lego to never change them? To name a few, I think Darth Vader, the new Clone Wars Obi-Wan, the clone pilots from the Arc 170, and the C-3PO with dual molded legs. I disagree with 2 of your 4, actually. The clone pilots definitely needed dual molded legs to be peak. Like, they just aren't that. They're very good. I like them. They're nice. They're not at the top of their game for what they could be. And then the Darth Vader, I think, needs some colored eyes. Those dark red eyes that we saw in the Kenobi box would really elevate it. And we also needed that for the redeemed Vader in the Dark Falcon. That would have been nice, as well as the gingerbread Vader that's coming up could have used colored eyes. So I think that Vader also not quite going to meet that mark for me. Now, if I had to throw a couple others out there on my own, I think some of their recent Mandalorian figures, and certainly their styling, has been really superb. You look at Gar Mandalore Saxon, you look at the most recent Bo-Katan, the most recent Mando in Beskar armor, and even the Mud version of Mando from the UCS Razor Crest, all of these are really top of the line minifigures with the arm printing, with the perfect helmet printing. I mean, really refined Mandalorian minifigures. I also think some of the other Jedi, like Ki-Adi-Mundi, Ahsoka, the Mace Windu from the fighter tank, there are tons of minifigs that I think could be very good for decades to come with very little, if any, changes. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's some great stuff out there. Those are the ones that are top of mind, though. Next from TT Bricks, he says, should Lego Star Wars take a break like Harry Potter did, just a year or 5? I don't think Lego Star Wars should take a break. I'll just start my answer like that. Now, the reason Harry Potter took a break, or ended up with a break and then came back, is because there was a big gap of time when there was no new Harry Potter media or material for them to make sets based on. And then when they started making movies and things again, I never even watched it, so I can't remember the name, but it had the Newt or something in it, because I bought the minifigs and I remember that. But yeah, when it came back into cultural relevance, of course, they brought Harry Potter back. And Harry Potter has a bigger issue than Star Wars with its limitation on like what it has for material. Like, it's mostly just a bunch of renditions of Hogwarts, and then there's some other things, of course. Like, I love Lego Harry Potter, I've collected a lot of it, but it is a much more like finely focused thing than I think Star Wars. Star Wars is a whole universe. Harry Potter is Hogwarts and like some areas of London or something. I can't even remember. But I think for Lego Star Wars, taking a break wouldn't fix any of the issues or fatigue. I wouldn't even say there's fatigue with Lego Star Wars, because I think people are still very excited about the theme and really want more from the theme. It's more of like a quality and pricing thing, and just making it disappear wouldn't fix that. Now, I'll skip all the fine details and examples here, but I have known Lego to be the type of company that when there is an issue with a thing, instead of fixing it, they just go, oh, we're done with that. Oh, it's gone now. Goodbye. And so I can think of a few examples like that, and I'm sure you can too. Now, Lego Star Wars is too big to fail in that way. They won't just poof, make Lego Star Wars disappear because it's giving them some trouble. They would work to fix it, hopefully. And so I hope to see them fix a lot of the issues that it has. Like, Harry Potter didn't end because it had issues. It ended because they ran out of Harry Potter. Like, the movies were done, and that was kind of it. And you also have to think Lego at the time was very different than they are now. And so I think using Harry Potter as an example of a theme that took a break and came back and was so good is, I mean, that's a true example that did happen, but I don't think it's something that should reasonably happen with Lego Star Wars and would really fix anything that people want fixed. Paul Hawkins says, what happened to the upload streak? You were doing so good. So I don't know if you guys noticed, I uploaded for like 31 straight days from like mid-July to mid-August. And then at some point, that just becomes unsustainable. It's very fun for the time that it is sustainable, though, you know? I start to notice maybe around 10 days in, I'm like, all right, I'm on kind of an upload streak. And the first 10 or so videos were all like summer 2025 sets, I think. And so those are kind of like easy videos. And you gotta be like, all right, well, now I gotta start doing other stuff and other stuff and other stuff, and branching more outside the box, like reviewing something like the knockoff UT-AT that I did. And those are fun videos and really nicely contribute to the streak. And for me, when I have an upload streak, I only count like actual videos. So like a live stream to me doesn't count, and a YouTube short doesn't count. So like, I'm like, I gotta make a good video for this to count as a part of the upload streak. So don't get me wrong, I would love to upload every day. If I could, I would, but there comes a point when it's just like unsustainable, and I'll basically sit there and I'll be like, all right, I've worked my butt off for a month, I'm tired, I'm gonna like just let off the gas a little bit, which isn't in my like heart what I want to be doing, but it does naturally happen, unfortunately. I love living by the no days off mantra. Unfortunately, that is actually like really hard to actually do, and nobody should do that because that's horrible. So I do indeed take a day off every once in a while, or more so I would say just be very exceptionally lazy on a day and do like so little work that it's like, all right, well, I was doing this, but like I didn't really do much. Upload streaks are fun, but they are only that. They are streaks. They come to an end, just like a winning streak in football or baseball or basketball. At some point in the fourth quarter of this year, I hope to have a better upload streak, but we'll see how that goes. Next from Adam, he says, why won't they re-release Palpatine's arrest? You know, I don't know. It's a very odd one because it's clearly something people want. It's got a lot of characters that people pay a lot of money for in the secondary market, and so Lego would probably think, hey, if they'll pay a lot of money in the secondary market, they definitely pay $140 for our set. You know, if one of the minifigs goes for $140 already, right? I just hope they put off doing that set long enough so that when they do come back to it, the Sith Eyes Palpatine from Revenge of the Sith actually has good looking Sith eyes and not these pupilless, soulless, horrible witch looking eyes. Like, please bring pupils back. They're horrible without them. That Palpatine minifig from 2012 is peak, and if you remove pupils, it will no longer be that, which will be sad. Finally, from D Grease, he says, so who is your biggest op in the Lego group? And like I was saying last week, my biggest op in the Lego group, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, has to be